And if I could, I'd be glad to share what I think I did really bad. Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
Corey, I just wanted to call and share some really exciting news with you. Jeff and I, we made the decision we're going to bet on ourselves. We've decided to start our own company. We're going independent. And the reason that we did that is boom, boom, boom.
If my financial advisor told that to me, I'd be like, absolutely, let's roll. I would have zero questions. The one other thing that I would say, Nick, that I've seen advisors have a lot of success with, it's kind of natural throughout the process.
Clients aren't dumb. They realize that there's big checks that are potentially involved in things like that. And I would say if you were in a bank, the one thing that I would encourage people to do is if I had to do it all over again, I would never have connected that deeply with, we lost a little bit of the control that we were the planner, we were the plan because we had such a deep connection.
Hey, everyone. Thank you so much for joining the podcast. I decided to do this video today because I've seen a lot of content out there in the industry around picking the right firm at a high level industry education. But what happens after that? How do you get your clients from point A to point B? What are the best practices? How do you articulate your actual move to clients? And after helping over 1,000 financial advisors transition, I've seen some of the best practices out there in the industry that I'd like to share. And I also brought on a fantastic financial advisor himself to kind of go over the story of him transitioning. He had an extremely successful transition. And I definitely think that he has a ton to add. Nick, thank you. Thank you so much for joining today.
Hey, Corey, thanks for having me. I'm glad to talk about it. It was a very stressful but fun time. And looking back on it 7 years later, I'm so glad that I made the transition to go independent.
We just had a lunch. It feels like 2 weeks ago for your 5 year anniversary. So
It goes quick,
time really
man.
flies.
I heard a great quote recently that the days are long, but the years are short.
Yeah, unbelievable. Well, I appreciate it, Nick. So I was the recruiter at LPL during the time when you were exploring from SunTrust, now Truist, and trying to figure out, the right place to go. And just through the years, I know you've had a really successful transition. And I just wanted to just have you come on and tell a little bit of your story in terms of how you prepared, what you actually said to clients. I think a lot of financial advisors get up to the point where they find their actual home and then they're like, man, what do I do? Every financial advisor's question is how many of my assets are going to bring with me, and any tidbits that you can give to help maximize what that end number is at the end of the day in terms of clients and assets, I think is going to be huge.
Yeah, and I think I have the great insight now where I can really look back and say, like, these are the things that worked well. These are the things that I would do differently. And if I had to do it all over again, this is kind of exactly how I would do it. And I think the thing that went well for me was the phrasing of the why we went independent. I think we were really good about that when we reached out to our clients and we basically said, and I will caveat with this. At that time, I did not know a single independent advisor other than one person, Chad Panel, who we met right before we made the move to go independent. Everyone within my circle were bank advisors or wirehouse advisors. So it was a little bit different for me going independent because I really didn't know anybody who had done it before and have the opportunity to bounce ideas off of. But what I think worked well was the message that we wanted to control the relationship of who we worked with. We wanted to make sure that no client was too small, that we had to hand them off to a call center, and no client became too large that we had to hand them off to the wealth management or trust department. And at that time in 2017, that was a very prevalent thing that was happening within the bank channel with book segmentation. And then for my business partner, Jeff Walters, and I personally, we didn't want to get stuck in a very narrow window of trying to manage assets for people who had between 250,000 and $1 million, right? We felt that there was a very real possibility that we would lose a lot of our clients who were either too small or too big. So that was number one. We wanted to control the relationship. Number two is that we wanted to control how we communicated to our clients. We were very limited in the type of communication that we could do. And since we left, we've created our own website. We have a weekly newsletter that comes out. And our clients really like, specifically, they really like the newsletter that they get on a weekly basis, just with some stories, real life insights into what we're doing and who we're meeting with on a day-to-day basis. And then third, we wanted to control how we communicated to future clients. And I think when you just summarize the three things, hey, we went independent because we wanted to control who we worked with. We wanted to control how we communicate with the families that we guide, and we wanted to have an opportunity to communicate directly to potential future families. Nobody pushed back at that at all. They completely saw um, the vision that we had. And if I could, I'd be glad to share what I think I did really bad. Um,
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. But before we go into that, though, I definitely want to know that. But how long were these conversations with clients when they picked up the phone and said, "Hello, who is this? This is Nick Nielsen." Like what was it, like a minute long conversation in terms of what you were saying?
I mean, it was quick, right? I mean, these were 2 to 5 minute conversations. It was, hey, Nick Nielsen, your friendly financial planner. Corey, I just wanted to call and share some really exciting news with you. Jeff and I, we made the decision we're going to bet on ourselves. We've decided to start our own company. We're going independent. And the reason that we did that is boom, boom, boom. And we would really love the opportunity for you to come along on this journey with us and continue to serve as your trusted financial planning team. The vast majority of people said, wow, Nick, congratulations. That sounds awesome. What do we do next? Hey, Corey, what we really need to do, let's just schedule some time for you to come into the office. We have some paperwork for you to sign. Remember, this was in a world before DocuSign,
Yeah.
right? So we were still bringing people into the office. So the whole goal was, can we get this conversation done in, 2 to 5 minutes, maybe a minute,
Yep.
and schedule a time for them to come into the office to physically do the paperwork.
So that's awesome. And I appreciate that feedback because that's one of my recommendations. Everyone's heard the acronym KISS, just keep it simple. I recently just helped a really big Merrill Lynch team in North Carolina transition to independence. And this advisor is self-admittedly long-winded, and he got himself into a situation where he's going into like a 15-minute pitch, and literally halfway through the conversation, the client just cut him off and said, "We love you. We're coming with you." So it was just a big lesson that I saw from his mistakes, to keep it as simple as possible. If clients have additional questions after that, be ready to talk about those objections, but just make it as clear and simple as possible.
Yeah, absolutely. Which, yeah, if I can share, leads me to my biggest mistake was unneeded complexity and jargon. So for whatever reason, I had this desire to maybe even proactively answer the question who LPL was. I think it might be a little bit different today where, consumers, at least in the Charlotte metro area, have an idea of who LPL is just because of, they employ a couple thousand people, but 2017 was certainly different. Nobody really knew who LPL was because they're not a brand that advertises like a Fidelity or Schwab. And I decided to add this overwhelming complexity of trying to explain, well, LPL is our broker dealer and our custodian, and we have Independent Advisor Alliance. They're our registered investment advisor, and we're doing business as Blackbridge Financial. So
Yeah.
we added this just like overwhelming complexity to it. Clients didn't understand what an RIA was. They didn't really understand what the broker dealer was. They didn't understand who the custodian was. So I'm here on the whiteboard, drawing out this triangle of, all right, here's Blackbridge at the top.
Yeah.
Well, who's Blackbridge? Well, I
Yeah.
see there's 50 advisors on the website. So then I had to kind of dance through that. And then it was, I just made it overwhelmingly complex where people really didn't want to care. So I just kind of added the, hey, we went independent because of 3 bullet points, and we're powered by LPL Financial. They're the largest independent broker dealer in the country. Over 20,000 advisors, just like myself, have decided to affiliate with them. And then we also are partnered with Independent Advisors Alliance, who gives us support when we offer advisory products and compliance oversight. And people are like, okay, great, that sounds good. But
Yeah.
I had this overwhelming desire to like define like what is a custodian, what is a broker dealer, what is an RIA, what are their roles in this? I mean, that was mind numbing for myself. I can't imagine putting myself in the client's shoes today. So I would say, just come up with a little 30-second story about how you affiliated and why.
Yeah, I think that makes a ton of sense. I think a lot of financial advisors, number one, underestimate the value and trust that they have with their clients. I mean, clients are hiring a financial advisor to work in their best interests. And if you sit in front of somebody and you're on the phone and you tell them, listen, I've been doing deep due diligence for 6, 12, 18 months on this, and I'm going to this place for these reasons. If my financial advisor told that to me, I'd be like, absolutely, let's roll. I would have zero questions.
Yeah, and I think the other thing is just be incredibly positive about what you're creating and what you're going to, and not necessarily being negative or condescending about what you're coming from, right? It wasn't necessarily that SunTrust was so bad or they were they were Darth Vader and I was trying to go, to the light. It was just the fact that this was a great opportunity. We felt really positive about doing this and affiliating this way and creating our business. And this is the direction that we wanted to go because of these reasons. So just trying to be really positive about the direction of where we were going. And I don't think there's not too many people who are going to poo-poo you for being overwhelmingly positive.
Yeah, absolutely. Something else in what you originally said, sometimes it's almost as important, how you say something versus like what you're actually saying. I mean, this is a huge leap. It's a huge risk. Obviously, financial advisors are going to be extremely nervous, especially on their first couple phone calls. So just making sure that you have excitement in your voice about the opportunity. If you're, really nervous and you're like, yeah, we're really excited about this, this opportunity, and that's going to cause some pause and definitely some more questions with your clients. But this is a couple of the other bullet points that I had prepared combined. But write down what you want to say, just at least in a bullet point form in case you get lost. Rehearse it with your business partner, rehearse it with your spouse. The more reps that you get just kind of talking about what you're going to say, the better and more fluid you're going to be. No one just goes into a presentation and just wings it. And definitely, the one other thing that I would say, Nick, that I've seen advisors have a lot of success with, it's kind of natural throughout the process. You want to reach out to your number one clients right away, your most important clients, the ones you 100% want to bring with you. But sometimes it just makes sense. When I applied for jobs when I was younger, the first three I went through, I didn't really, do very well. I was nervous. I didn't know the answer to all the questions, but by the fourth, fifth, person, the job that I really, really wanted, I knew the questions they were going to ask. I knew the objections. I walked in with my chest puffed out and I just had a different confidence about me. So maybe start having conversations with some of these people, some of your clients, with some that you're more okay losing, for lack of a better word.
Yeah, so the way that we did it, we segmented all of our clients into A, B, and C. In A, we thought they would 100% come with us. We had a great relationship with them. We felt those would be kind of the easiest calls. B were people that we wanted them to come with us. We didn't feel like there was maybe as great of a connection with them as our A's, but we still wanted to extend the invite. And then we had people that were C's that maybe we just didn't really know as well, because I mean that happens in the bank where people get assigned to you. And we just thought there was a low probability of them coming with us. And the way that we did that is we just assigned a probability in A, there'd be an 80% probability, a B would be a 40%, a C would be a 20. And if you just kind of multiplied that by assets and revenue, that kind of gave us an idea of where we thought we would be. And we were pretty spot on. With that, I would encourage people to do that. But even with that being said, you have to realize that even the A's we're assigning like an 80% probability to, at least going from bank to independent. And you're going to have people that you love like family. And I know that I got completely blindsided by one. Jeff got completely blindsided by one. And it kind of like completely takes your breath away.
Yeah.
Because not everybody's going to come with you in a scenario like that. And sometimes they say, hey, hey, Nick, hey, Jeff, we love you, but we're a bank client. We have everything at the bank. We're going to stay with the bank forever. It's nothing
Yeah.
against you. It's just comfort. And you just have to take a minute to catch your breath, but then you have to go on. Like you have to continue. You can't let that overwhelm your day and just stop or shut down. And so what I would do when those, or people just say, hey, I need to think about it. I'm not ready to make that commitment yet. So then I would say, all right, let me get a couple what I think are going to be really easy ones. Who on the board do I like the most, or who I think likes me the most? All right, let me call Mrs. Burns. I feel like she's my grandma or whatever,
Yeah.
and kind of get you back in the rhythm of things. But it can be easy to get kind of into a negative downward spiral if you get a larger client who's unsure or not confident, but you got to keep moving forward. What we did is we got a bunch of the like you see for the NFL draft, like the little player cards. We got the little small magnets that were like 1 inch by 3 inches,
Hmm.
put all of our clients' names on them. And so it kind of helped us to see that we were gaining momentum just by moving the magnetic name cards from this big board of, hey, these are everybody that's on the that we need to call into, hey, these are the people that have committed to us. These are the people that have said maybe and they want to come in and meet with us. So just physically moving the chess pieces on the board gave us kind of the mental encouragement to keep going, and we made the right decision.
That's awesome. I should have sent you a case of Red Bull.
Diet Mountain Dew. Just yeah, we were definitely powered by diet. At least I was powered by Diet Mountain Dew during that period of time.
Yeah,
It
absolutely.
was a fun period.
Nice. So the last thing you kind of said it in the beginning in terms of bullet points that I had is make sure that you're articulating what's in it for the client during your conversation. I know that seems like something very, very obvious, but when you go through this process, and you're talking with recruiters from firms, when I'm alongside the financial advisor, many time I'm listening in on these conversations, and it's all about what's in it for the advisor. It's up to the financial advisor that's considering a change or alongside a consultant as a team to figure out how this is best for your clients as well. And I always tell people to put a line down, a piece of paper, what's in it for me and what's in it for clients. And when you're having these conversations, things get really blurry when you're talking with multiple firms and going to multiple home office visits. Make sure you're writing these things down so you just have a clear list that you can, build into your script when you start these conversations.
Yeah, I completely agree with that because no matter how good it is for the advisor, there has to be something in it, for the client as well. And clients aren't dumb. They realize that there's big checks that are potentially involved in things like that. And as much as they might like you, they don't want to just support your lifestyle or your ability to get a seven-figure check or something of that sort. So yeah, you always have to keep the client front of mind.
Nick, is there anything else that you think you should add?
I would say it's not as difficult as people make it out to be. Like we did this free DocuSign. So I think it would be, substantially easier today. I would say if you were in a bank, the one thing that I would encourage people to do is I would say one of our mistakes that we did is we had such a great connection with the premier bankers that probably at the beginning of our bank stage, we were really, hey, if you need anything, call us.
Yeah.
We're your guy. And we got so in deep with the premier banker, that premier banking role was basically, hey, if you need anything, call the premier banker.
Hmm.
And if I had to do it all over again, I would never have connected that deeply with the premier banker because we lost a little bit of the control that we were the planner, we were the plan because we had such a deep connection with these premier bankers. And when you do leave a firm, this is very advisor centric focused. I wouldn't tell anybody at your existing firm, that you're leaving. I think you know people will take advantage of that, and then the people who are your closest friends at that institution may not be your friends after you make the move.
Yeah.
So you have to have a little bit of thick skin and understanding. Then I probably could have done a better job of setting expectations with my wife about what was, required to do a transition like this.
Yeah.
So just plan, vacations and big trips accordingly to give yourself some run room. But in today's day and age, I think if you probably go really hard for 2 to 3 weeks, you probably get at least 80% of the heavy lifting done.
Awesome. So Nick, you mentioned the premier banker, and just to wrap this up, it might not always be a premier banker at another firm, but it might be the brand name of that organization. When you first start out in your career, and maybe you're a little bit more insecure about your abilities, you are leaning on the reputation and the size and the scale of that firm to kind of help you win clients. And over time, I think it's really important to help understand that you are the person.
Yeah.
You're the person that, provides the secret sauce, and you're the go-to person throughout the process, whether that's steering away from a premier banker, or maybe another member on your team, or the brand. I think that's just something that's extremely important that you could do years ahead of a transition to make sure things go much more efficient, much more ideal.
Yeah, and in the vast majority of our appointments, we would always jokingly say, like, hey, just know that Nick and Jeff loved you as clients. Now, we could wake up tomorrow morning and the name on the door could completely change. SunTrust might say JP Morgan on it, and there's nothing that we can do to control that. And they might like us or they might fire us. But just know that if anything changed with where we work or how we affiliate, we're going to give you a call and let you know as quickly as possible. And people reference that when we did call, when we made the change. They're like, well, you did say that if anything ever changed, you'd give me a call. So they appreciate and they remember little things like that.
Awesome. Nick, I really appreciate the time. I really think this is going to help a lot of people. I think a lot of this is a mystery that people kind of build out all on their own. And it's definitely something that I know I help with the financial advisors that I work with. And if anyone has any questions at all, my contact information is all over my YouTube channel, my website, my podcast. And I look forward to talking soon.
Thanks, Corey. Appreciate the time.
Thanks, Nick.